Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bocce Piles channel. So I wanted to just report about how the Duress Crew Quarterly went, and then we'll get into the deck we're going to play today, which is going to be Selden's Quiet Speculation Oath that he top forward with at that Duress Crew Regional. And so, yeah, this was the list that I played. And so here's how the tournament went. Round one, I played against Goblins and won handily. Round two, I played against The Rock and won handily. In round three, I played against Drew, who did top 8 with Enchantress, and he's a strong player. And I lost. I did draw Mox Diamond, a lot of inopportune moments, and mostly didn't have good draws. Mainly, I would say it turned out my sideboard plan against Enchantress just wasn't strong enough. I drew the Pyroclasms and Simoons when they did not have Argothian Enchantress. Aura of Silence, I just didn't draw it early enough for it to actually do anything other than be a more expensive Seal of Cleansing. And Phyrexian Furnace ended up being terrible when I really needed Tormod's Crypts. So I lost to Drew. Then I beat Replenish Brian Sue in round 4, who has won tournaments before with Replenish, a strong player. Won a close match there. And then I played against Mike Packer, who top 8'd at LobsterCon with Enchantress. And kind of the same thing happened again. In game 3, I was on the draw and I got like a double Mox Diamond in Armageddon and basically left them with nothing. But I just wasn't applying any pressure, and eventually they found a Replenish. And, I was 3-2 at that point. I played one more match against Replenish and I lost that and I dropped. So it just seems like what the deck really needs is Cataclysm. And then like Tormod's Crypts instead of Phyrexian Furnace. So this is the build I was thinking about. Werebear really overperformed, and I'm surprised that like 4 Werebear is just not the status quo already. Nimble Mongoose, before you get Threshold, tends to just sit around. I do like how it's easy to drop into play after, if you just have to play Armageddon because you're worried your Replenish opponent's going to get to 4 mana. Well, let me close the Discord. Because you're worried your opponent's going to get to 4 mana, so you just need to drop that Replenish. Mongoose costing 1's pretty nice. But sometimes when you don't have Threshold, and you're just not really getting anywhere with that Nimble Mongoose, well, Werebear at least taps for mana and can help you get closer to an Armageddon. And then being a 4/4, it's big enough to attack through Wall of Blossoms and defeat Call of the Herd tokens. And it's basically just a lesser Terravore that, is a 4/4, but also taps for green. Werebear, crazily good. So I cut an Armageddon for a Cataclysm. We've got another Cataclysm in the sideboard. And then I'm thinking about this Sylvan Safekeeper slot, which could also win games. I did get some Terravores like Swords to Plowshares. I believe that happened against Drew on Enchantress. And, I could have won the game a lot quicker if I could have given it Shroud with my Safekeeper. So this is the build I am thinking about. Now, this Cataclysm Oath deck, Brian Selden did top 4 with. You may remember Brian Selden's, World Championship deck. Well, maybe you don't, but he had a Survival of the Fittest Recurring Nightmare deck. That thing was pretty sweet. My brother had it back in the day. And, this is the deck he played. And, this is not the deck he played. So this is like another take on Cataclysm Oath. And this is the kind of thing I thought about playing, but what it has is a hard time generating threats if your opponent doesn't trigger your Oath of Druids. And so, I think this build is interesting. Sphere of Resistance is good against, Enchantress and Dreadnought and Replenish, but it's also just kind of lacking in pressure. And so this Quiet Speculation Oath rather than playing Sphere of Resistance, you get this quiet speculation as a way to give your deck something to do, and it just works out really well that Volcanic Spray can take out our Gothian Enchantress, and you've got your Ray of Revelation, and then this deck does play a copy of Cataclysm. Against Dreadnought, I imagine we're boarding out Oath of Druids and bringing in Meddling Mage. Krosan Reclamation is a sweet graveyard hate spell here. I think that's what we're doing with it, that you can get with the Quiet Speculation. We do have Cataclysms to destroy enchantment-heavy boards or anyone trying to go wide in basically any direction. Maybe the mana base, a little more ungainly. But I don't know. We're going to try it out here. I think it seems pretty cool. So yeah, this is Brian Selden's Quiet Speculation Oath. All right, we're going to start game one on the play. And we've got like a nice Mox Diamond turn one Sylvan Library hand. And so it's just a question of what I want to discard here. It probably has to be the Treetop Village, because we can bounce the Gemstone Mine to our Treva's Ruins and get value that way. Yeah, and this gives us 3 mana on turn 2 to play the Call of the Herd. So I'm gonna Mox Diamond, discard the Treetop Village, play Gemstone Mine, and I'm gonna play Sylvan Library. The opponent plays the Caves of Qualos and passes. Well, there's a Quiet Speculation. So one great thing about Quiet Speculation is that it's another shuffle for our Sylvan Library. And it doesn't seem like my opponent's applying pressure here, so I think I'll take the free card off the Sylvan Library. And then I will tap this for a green, play the Treva's Ruins, get back the Gemstone Mine, tap some more mana, and we are attacking with a elephant token now, or we will be next turn. The opponent's swords they use swords to plowshares on the elephant, which is you love to see it when you have Sylvan and Library in play. So we get our Sylvan Library trigger. I don't think I need another swords to plowshares. I don't really think I need another Quiet Speculation either. I think it's okay to put that on top. And then I'm just going to activate the Quiet Speculation, targeting myself. By activate it, I guess I mean cast it. I think it's going to be Deep Analysis. What are the chances that they are on a deck that plays enchantments? I mean, they might play Phyrexian Arena. I mean, it's probably big black-white control. I mean, the Roar of the Wurm makes sense. Maybe I'll just get the Volcanic Spray in case they end up cycling Decree of Justice. All right. We'll try this. And pass the turn. Now, Gemstone Mine. So that would indicate this is probably not regular black-white Vindicate style control with like skeletal scrying and whatnot. They do Vindicate my Mox Diamond, though, speaking of Vindicate. All right. Well, we do get to draw more cards off the Sylvan Library. So that's a little unfortunate, but I think it could be worse. A Naturalize. Well, we'll keep that. It makes up for not getting the Quiet Speculation. Or sorry, the Ray of Revelation. Now, I kind of wish I had the Quiet Speculation to shuffle my library. I don't know if I'm being too aggressive just dropping the Oath of Druids, but I do want to take advantage of my mana. If this gets disenchanted, that doesn't seem that bad for me. But I guess we're going to get Vindicated again. Well, there's the Phyrexian Arena. Well, we do have the Naturalize for that. Okay, there's a shuffle. So do I want to wait on this Armageddon? I feel like is the big question. I think I do want to pay for the land. And I guess I just have to naturalize right now. Which is unfortunate because I don't get to use my mana very efficiently. If I had gotten the Ray of Revelation, we could be attacking for 3. So I guess I definitely should have gotten the Ray of Revelation. What I could do is just flash back the Roar of the Wurm, but then they get to Oath. So maybe you're not supposed to play Oath here. All right, we're passing the turn. Well, here's another Phyrexian Arena. Well, I'm going to clear the top of my library. And I guess a forest seems fine. So we have a Terravore. Okay, well, that's a pretty good one to put into play. If my opponent ends up oathing, I'm going to have a huge Terravore. And I think I'm going to keep the 5th land in hand because I would like to Armageddon and then play a land afterwards and not have no lands in hand. So my opponent can oath into an Exalted Angel or something here if they want. They get a Nantuko Shade. Okay, so this is just like Deadguy Ale. And they grew the Terravore to a 4/4. So Sylvan Library trigger. There's Ray of Revelation. That's a pretty good one. So do I want to take advantage of that? Kind of. I think I'll just put those on top and try to keep my life total relatively high. We'll need white mana to play the Ray of Revelation. Now I could play one more land and attack with the Treetop Village. Am I supposed to do that? I think I am supposed to do that. If I get Gerard's Verdict here, it's a little unfortunate because we lose the Armageddon, but we're still attacking for a lot. If they want to block and trade here, it seems totally fine. All right, they do want to block and trade. So they're going to take some damage off their Caves of Qualos, and then they're going to Oath again, which will presumably grow the Terravore more. Okay, they only have to activate it once, of course. That's right. Yep. They're going to make me discard a card. I will discard the Swords to Plowshares and keep the Armageddon. So the opponent gets an Oath trigger. Another Nantuko Shade. Terravore is much too big to worry about that. Funeral Charm. Well, I'm discarding the Armageddon. So they basically had Gerard's Verdict there between the two Funeral Charms. Yeah, we do get to gain a bunch of life and then play a Roar of the Wurm token. Okay, well, I am just gonna... Well, one thing I could do here is pass. I think I'm going to Wasteland the Caves and see if they're going to juice their Nantuko Shade. They are not. So now I can flash back the Volcanic Spray. And then flashback Deep Analysis. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I'm immediately noticing there's a lot of decisions about what to do with one's mana. There's a concession, though. So here's a high-placing Deadguy Ale deck. So they have the Phyrexian Arena, the Funeral Charm, so this looks pretty familiar. So Hypnotic Spectre, Exalted Angel, and Nantuko Shade, the Threat Suite. Maybe Planar Void. What is this? Sheltering Prayers. I've never heard of this. Basic lands can't be the target of spells or abilities. Okay. Well, we play a lot of Armageddon, so that doesn't matter too much. I guess it's this Planar Void, the Smothers, maybe a Tormod's Crypt. Oh, Withered Wretch is a pretty good one for the opponent. So for my sideboarding, what do I want to do here? Like the Ray of Revelation seems good against all the Phyrexian Arenas, but really there's only 3 of them, and I can get this with Quiet Speculation anyway. But it seems like the only reason to have Naturalize would be that Tormod's Crypt. And I think we can just survive getting crypted. Enlightened Tutor can grab the Oath of Druids. That seems potentially good. Armageddon. Like Cataclysm, they're probably only going to have 1 creature. They're not really like a go wide kind of deck anyway. So I think I'm just going to run it back like this. We open up the old 7-lander. I mean, Wasteland and Port are pretty good. But I don't think you're supposed to keep that kind of hand. I think I can keep this and put back a Mox Diamond. We're going to be hoping to draw more lands, but we do play plenty of them. So the opponent just swamp passes. So we can hold up Swords to Plowshares here. I could just put the Mox Diamond out there, but I very much don't want it to get disenchanted for no gain. A Withered Wretch. All right, well, this seems like a fine time to activate, or to cast the Swords to Plowshares. Activate the Windswept Heath. Quiet Speculation. So I could play Mox Diamond here and cast a Quiet Speculation and get Deep Analysis and some other stuff. And hopefully we don't get our Mox Diamond disenchanted here. So I'll grab the Deep Analysis. I guess I did not sideboard in the second Ray like I meant to. All right. I'll grab a Call of the Herd. And I guess I'll get the Volcanic Spray again. So they could play Withered Wretch here and just eat my my Deep Analysis, but that doesn't happen. And drawing a land is great too. So do I want to play the land and fetch first? I think I kind of do, because that lets me hold up white mana for the Swords to Plowshares. That is the kind of sequencing that can matter. So here's a Deep Analysis targeting me, but not using the white mana. So we do want that 4th land, but otherwise I think this is going okay. The opponent's begging to get Armageddon over there. But we are stuck on mana, so I think I'm just going to play this Call of the Herd. Swords to Plowshares is fine. Vindicate on my Mox Diamond. It's not too surprising. And there's a Terravore. So yep, we are stuck on lands. We do play 26 of them. Hypnotic Spectre. We can Swords that. So we got Wasteland. It's probably going to have a juicy target at some point here. Duress, sure. Knock yourself out. Probably taking Armageddon. As taking Ray of Revelation doesn't really matter. We kind of did the thing with Quiet Speculation already. But they take Call of the Herd. I guess that makes sense, as that is a 3-drop we could play if we hit the land. Here's Oath of Druids. Yeah, I think it makes sense just to snap this into play, right? Although I guess every time I play Oath of Druids before my opponent has a creature, I end up regretting it. But it seems like this puts us in a good spot. Another Oath of Druids. Well, I think I'm just going to play it also. I mean, our opponent has to play a creature eventually, right? Duress. They take the Quiet Speculation. All right, well, we're actually in a bit of a conundrum because if we ever Oath, we aren't going to have any Terravores left to Oath into. And so maybe these Oath of Druids do just hurt us, and you're supposed to wait. I could play this Gemstone Mine, but it's just going to get Wastelanded. Hypnotic Spectre. So am I going to like Oath everything into my graveyard here? I'm in a really awkward spot. I think maybe I have to. I really don't care about whatever my opponent takes with the Hypnotic Spectre. I guess I'll try it. So that actually went pretty well because we didn't Oath our whole library into our graveyard. It looks like we're going to get swords here. Quiet Speculation. So I guess I'm going to hard cast a Terravore, and at least we're at parity with our opponent on terms of creatures. And then if they Wasteland the Gemstone Mine, that'll make the Terravore pretty big. So do they have like a third Swords to Plowshares? They sure do. All right, don't hit a Terravore. They hit a Terravore. Well, this is where like Krosan Reclamation would be good. We have to decline these Oath triggers. Maybe I will bring in the Krosan Reclamation. I don't know how normal it is to have a crazily awkward board situation like this. But we'll see if they have the fourth Swords to Plowshares. Maybe it'll be just to Vindicate. So they're going to attack. Maybe they'll hit Ray of Revelation. Alright, well, could have gone worse. The Phyrexian Arena. Okay. Alright, well, we're kind of in an okay spot. Ooh, and another land as well. That's exciting. So do I want to... trying to make sure we still have lands left in the deck. It looks like there should be a forest in there still. We're going to lose our land. I think I'm just supposed to play the Quiet Speculation and then Ray of Revelation the arena. Yeah, let's get the one thing that we can. We kept the right mana up for the Ray, so that's exciting. Get in for 10. A Withered Wretch. Well, that will contain the Terravore to some extent, but they're going to be under a lot of pressure here. And they kind of need to grab the Volcanic Spray. But then the Terravore just attacks for a crazy amount. But I'm sure they'll see... oh, a Dark Ritual. Okay. So that's going to keep things interesting. So they did not end up grabbing the Volcanic Spray. The Oath of Druids interface a little clunky on Magic Online. I don't wish to use the ability. Don't wish to use the ability. And I gotta play the Undiscovered Paradise so I can activate the Volcanic Spray. Oh, Withered Wretch is a 2/2. I could have sworn it was a 2/1. Well, that's awkward. Well, it's easy to make assumptions in Magic the Gathering, especially when you're not ultra familiar with the format. At least this Hypnotic Spectre attack is going to grow the Terravore. And they take a damage off the City of Brass. So they swing, and then thankfully my last card is Adarkar Wastes. And now they have to block the Terravore on the crack back. We'll decline these Oath triggers. Swords to Plowshares. Well, I'm going to attack with a Terravore. I'm going to play the Undiscovered Paradise. Am I going to like Swords this Hypnotic Spectre? That puts them up to 4 life. So I don't think so. I don't know if they're even going to attack with it, though. Gerard's Verdict. So I could Swords this here, but then they get an Oath trigger, potentially hit an Exalted Angel. Maybe they're going to get an Oath trigger next turn anyway, when they block the Terravore. And I'm supposed to... I guess it shakes out the same, because they're going to be at 1 life. And this Hypnotic Spectre's in their graveyard rather than anywhere else. Oh, and then we can just ping the City of Brass here for 1 more damage. So, okay. Well, you know, we're learning. All right, we're on the draw with another Mox Diamond 2-land hand. You know, with a couple Swords to Plowshares and Quiet Speculation, I think I've got to keep it. So we're going to have a target for our Swords to Plowshares. So that's always good. Ooh, another land is nice too. I don't think they're going to duress me. And so I might as well keep the Mox Diamond a secret and not get it disenchanted. Although I am missing the chance to Swords to Plowshares something here potentially. Now this is a 2-1, but it has protection from red. And we drew another land. So I think I'm going to play Mox Diamond. Discard the Gemstone Mine. Play the Forest. Engage in some Quiet Speculation. I think grabbing the Volcanic Spray. The Deep Analysis. And the Roar of the Wurm seems good. I don't know if there's like enchantments that I need to be worried about. Like, I mean, some of these decks play Worship. But it seems like if it comes to worshipping, we'll have time. To like find that, find the Ray of Revelation eventually. We'll swords that guy though. Well, there's the Ray of Revelation. And then we can flash back the Wurm token. So this is pretty sweet. Swords to Plowshares. Okay, I don't mind getting some life. We're down to 24. And a Silver Knight. All right, well, if they play any more Mother of Runes, this Volcanic Spray will see some action. Terravore, not a juicy one right now. But an elephant token's pretty nice here. Savannah Lions, that can get eaten by Volcanic Spray. But my plan here is just going to be to flashback the Call of the Herd. And this was silly. I should have attacked first. But we got a couple 3/3s and they've got a couple 2/2s. All right, yet another 2/1 Shadow Dude. So I think we'll start by flashing back Deep Analysis. That seems good. We'll use the forest since we still have the Treetop Village. We mostly draw more lands. So I could play the Terravore here. And it would be a 2/2. Not very exciting. I can wasteland my own land to make it into a 4/4. All right, maybe we'll do the attacks here. If they want to trade both their creatures for one elephant, that seems okay. And this is kind of aggressive if I end up like wastelanding myself. But we have a lot of power beating them down. Seal of Cleansing, that's fine. What I can do is just wasteland targeting the wasteland and make it into a 3/3 to block. They don't take the bait. Oath of Druids. So I could sit back and play the Oath. They're at such low life, though. It seems better to animate the Treetop Village. And then if they block the Terravore, I will grow it. A double block. Yeah, so I think we're gonna wasteland targeting the wasteland. And get in for 9. And then if this goes like too far upside down, we can just play Oath of Druids. I guess I'll bounce the forest. All right, the opponent concedes. Cool. So this does not really seem like an Armageddon matchup from my end. They are kind of trying to go wide with creatures. The Volcanic Spray just to hit Mother of Runes and maybe Savannah Lion seems fine. We did not see any Ray of Revelation targets. I don't think they play artifacts I need to be worried about. But there could be some kind of enchantment that matters. So maybe the one Ray of Revelation is fine. And that will get me Zuran Orb. And maybe we can get an Enlightened Tutor. Call of the Herd, okay. I mean, our life total does matter, so I could cut a Sylvan. Although they are a Swords to Plowshares deck. Maybe Quiet Speculation is just a little slow. And 2 of them is fine. So I'll try this. It's not the best hand, but it has Swords to Plowshares plus Oath. So I think those are keepers. Yeah, there's a Tormod's Crypt. I guess, you know, I should have thought harder about this and played the Adarkar Wastes. Because now I don't get to play Swords to Plowshares. But if they played a creature, I'll be very happy just to play Oath of Druids. So maybe it's okay. I'll play the Adarkar Wastes now. Here's an Oath of Druids. And I think what I'm going to do is hold off on oathing, but I think they're going to get a Seal of Cleansing here anyway. All right, that's fine. Because if we oath with Wasteland in play, we can make sure our Terravore survives their Tormod's Crypt. Now what I can do is Wasteland the Factory and just limit their mana development a little bit. We don't have anything to do anyway. Do I want to burn the swords? I'm just not super worried about the Saltari Priest quite yet. Alright, I guess that being the case, I am gonna swords. I might as well swords the untapped one. And Treetop Village seems like the logical land to play here, with not much else going on. Well, we have not had too many exciting draws. The Treetop Village, though, does keep the Silver Knight at bay. Mox Diamond could be fine. I think I'm going to play the Adarkar Wastes here. And save the Windswept Heath as like a potential shuffle. Well, there's the Exalted Angel, so it would be a good time to draw Cataclysm. Or Oath of Druids. Okay, well there's Oath of Druids. So I'll play Oath of Druids. And I will play a land. I think the Windswept Heath. I guess I'm Mox Diamonding also. And discarding the Treva's Ruin seems fine. So I can save my fetch land for after I oath out the Terravore. They don't attack with a morph. Is it not Exalted Angel? I guess I'm confused. Maybe it's Whipcorder? Is that what's going on? It is Whipcorder. Well, that's better than Exalted Angel. And keeping the Undiscovered Paradise here lets me Molten Volley twice. So maybe what we can do is oath into double Molten Volley here. I don't think we did. Volcanic Spray, not Molten Volley. Okay. We get to draw for the turn. Another Terravore. Well, that's like crazily good. Just to have more blockers. So I do want to activate the Volcanic Spray. It does deal 1 damage to each player. It's worth noting. And then I am going to summon the Terravore. And I guess I might as well put Undiscovered Paradise into play in case I want to play this Ray of Revelation. So they can activate Crypt. And I guess it makes my guys 2/2s. So we go to 4. Yeah. Can't do too much about that. Another morph. I wonder if that one's Exalted Angel. Well, we're going to get got by this Tormod's Crypt here pretty good. Unless this Oath of Druids goes super well. So we have a Roar of the Wurm token. So here is the Crypt, yeah. Another Oath. Playing another Oath doesn't seem like it helps because I only have one more Terravore in the deck. But we do have this Treetop Village as an additional attacker. Blocker, I mean. They tap down the Terravore on the end step. That makes sense. Ooh, it is Exalted Angel, though. So they just get to attack in the sky. Well, the 5-lander did not pay off there. Maybe that is a mulligan? Well, boarding out the Quiet Speculation wasn't very exciting. So, we're on the play here. Sylvan Library is just such a good card with, like with Mox Diamond, it's such a great turn 1 play to set up our draws. Let's see. Well, Ray of Revelation seems like it's not doing anything. And then maybe I do just cut. I mean, on the play, Sylvan Library seems excellent. Maybe we just run it like this, but I kind of want maybe just a random Naturalize to be able to answer the Tormod's Crypt. But then what do I cut? That is the mystery. Maybe like a Mox Diamond on the play. Ugh, a 1-lander. Not very opportune. Let's mulligan. Another 1-lander. I think this is even worse. Okay, well this one has lands and Oath of Druids, so I'm gonna keep. Put back Treva's Ruins. No, I think actually it's the Undiscovered Paradise. And then it's probably the Naturalize, right? Phyrexian Furnace from the opponent here. All right, so I'm gonna get the basic Forest and play the Sylvan Library. Oh, the land's a great draw there. So the opponent drops a Port and a Cursed Scroll. Okay. If only Ancient Grudge was legal in this format. Let's see. So what do I want to draw here? I could just not draw the land. I think I do want to make land drops, and oathing the Call of the Herd into the graveyard doesn't sound so bad. All right, the opponent starts by attacking. That's good Magic playing. All right, well, they just pass it back here. So we get to Oath. We're going to port the Forest. That's fine. A 6/6 Terravore is pretty good. Nothing too spicy in the graveyard besides Call of the Herd. Our own Rishadan Port, that's pretty hot. Yeah, the thing where Oath of Druids clears the top of your library for Sylvan Library is pretty awesome. Okay, so what do I want to do here? Probably just port my opponent's planes, right? It seems fine. They get to eat our library with a Furnace. Tap down their only white mana. They eat a Sylvan Library. Why is it not eating the bottom card? The bottom card is Sylvan Library. Is the bottom card actually Windswept Heath? Is that how this works? And is Sylvan Library the top of my graveyard somehow? Is that not what happened there? I'm so confused. No attack from the opponent. So I think I am going to attack and give my opponent an Oath trigger. Especially having drawn Swords to Plowshares, that seems totally fine. So we can Wasteland them off the port. Okay, and there's a concession. Cool. So we have an Oath of Druids hand, which is going to do something against creatures. A port to buy time. It's another one of these 5-landers. I guess we'll see how it goes. A brushland pass from the opponent. Mox Diamond. Okay, well that's a great draw here. So I'm going to play the Mox Diamond. Now what to discard is the question. Should I just discard the Treva's Ruins? I think I'm going to discard the Plains here. It's just a way to tap for blue should something terrible happen to our Mox Diamond. All right, and it's a forest pass from the opponent. Call of the Herd. So do I want to take a turn off here to get an elephant token down? Well, the thing is I want to play Deep Analysis next turn, the way things are going. So I think I do want to do this. Or possibly just flash back the Herd token. I don't think that porting my opponent when our game plan's not really going anywhere is exciting. Well, our opponent was on Oath, so it's a little unfortunate, but it being an Oath mirror, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So we'll get in for 3. Now, have I learned my lesson here about holding a port? I think we want to stick with a plan here and play Deep Analysis. So we draw a Mox Diamond. Is this worth getting into play to answer, just to have Swords to Plowshares up? I have to imagine that it is. And I think I'm fine to discard the Treva's Ruins at this point. And it's an Exalted Angel, so our opponent's probably like on that green-white Cataclysm build. And a Sylvan Library, okay? Well, the best case scenario here would be to like Deep Analysis into Quiet Speculation and then answer this Oath of Druids. And if that happens, I'll want to have this Exalted Angel removed. I think I'm just going to go ahead and Swords here. This Oath Mirror seems super awkward. All right, well, let's flash back Deep Analysis. I guess I'll do it on green. The Exalted Angel does like attack in the air, which is kind of a problem for the Terrageddon showdown that's going to happen here. Maybe what I should have thought about harder would have been swordsing my own elephant token. Volcanic Spray, not the droid I was looking for. So I'll get in for 3. And yeah, I cannot stop this Oath of Druids from the opponent. It's a big old Terravore, all right. We'll tap down the brushland. All right, so the opponent has a Naturalize for my Mox Diamond. I guess I'll float a green. Maybe that was the worst color. Maybe white would have been better. And I guess I'm in Fetch to Thin territory, although that grows the Terravore, so I guess we're not in Fetch to Thin territory. Well, there's the Ray of Revelation. Because what we want to do is chump block the Terravore and then oath out our own Terravore to get stasis. you know, to create like a homeostasis in the game plan, not the actual card stasis. So we get their Sylvan Library. We're gonna chump block and go down 11. Well, they have Wasteland, so it's gonna be worse than that. It looks like they're playing Cataclysm, Armageddon. Well, that's gonna be good enough to win in the game. That's gonna make the Terravore huge. Well, I do think we are favored on the whole. Like, Ray of Revelation is going to be excellent here. Aura of Silence also seems like a good one. The get-in effects are so awkward in this kind of matchup. If we can get out ahead, obviously they're quite good. They're not likely to have too many creatures in play anyway, so the get-in, I think, seems better. So the opponent's not on a regular Cataclysm Oath build, so I don't even know what's going on over there. Well, usually those green-white builds with Exalted Angel are playing Cataclysm, but they're on Armageddon, and I just have no idea what it could mean. So Krosan Reclamation, I guess it doesn't win a Terrageddon mirror match, because if we attack with like a 15-15 Terrageddon and then they block, then I can use the Krosan Reclamation to shuffle in 2 cards away to like 2 lands, and that would kill their Terravore, but would also kill our Terravore. Is that something I want to do? I don't know. Like, maybe I should be bringing in Meddling Mage here to like name Oath of Druids. Maybe I don't need the Krosan Reclamation. Okay. It's my first pre-modern game with Meddling Mage in the main deck. We'll see how it goes. Well, this hand is a banger for sure. So that's pretty sweet. So we'll play Windswept Heath and pass. Brushland and pass from the opponent. We'll grab the plains. And then we're going to drop Sylvan Library here and see how many disenchants our opponent has. Now, I think it's best to, we'll test them on the disenchant line. Yeah, and then I guess the disenchant axis is what I'm trying to say. And then we can play Quiet Speculation and go from there. Okay, cool. So the Sylvan Library war is one that we can win. So Mox Diamond would be really good here, so I can Ray and Quiet Speculation. It looks like that is just what we're going to do. Although I think I have to Wasteland them now. So we'll put Treetop on top, pay 4 life to keep, play Wasteland, take out the Brushland, play Ray of Revelation on the Sylvan Library. And I guess I'll get the Mox Diamond out so I can flashback Ray of Revelation. And I think discarding the Gemstone Mine is fine. So the opponent plays Windswept Heath and cracks it. There's an Oath of Druids. I think I do just want to Ray this thing right now. Activate Sylvan, another Mox Diamond. So definitely don't need a second Treetop Village. Do I want to like play Treetop Village and Mox Diamond? I think so. So we'll discard the Adarkar Wastes. Play Quiet Speculation. And now the question is do I want the Ray of Revelation right now? I suppose it makes way more sense to put in the graveyard rather than praying to draw it, which is kind of what I want to do. I guess it's what I had in mind, but I guess it sounds pretty silly where it's just a 1-of in the deck. But having it in hand versus the enchantment opponent is super awesome. Enlightened Tutor in the main phase from the opponent for a wild growth. So it's some kind of enchantress oath thing. So maybe they're playing like Replenish. Meddling Mage. That's a funny one here. And Naturalize. So all these cards are crazily good. Okay, and the opponent concedes the whole match here. Wow. I wish we could have played game 3, but Meddling Mage on Wild Growth, I think, is what I had to do there. And we had the Naturalize if they play another Oath. And we also get to play out the Roar of the Wurm token. So that was going to be pretty awesome. Cool. Okay, we got a nice double Mox Diamond no-lander. Opponent's mulliganing to 6 as well. Now we got a 1-lander. Sorry, a 2-lander. Well, I'm going to keep. And probably just put back the Terravore. And hope our opponent plays a turn 1 creature. But the Mox Diamond I want to keep here, where the Gemstone Mine is an unreliable source of mana. Well, here's a Duress, so that's probably going to take our Oath of Druids. Sure does. Okay, Windswept Heath is not a bad rip. I guess I am just going to play the Windswept Heath, even though it reveals what we drew for the turn. And they are going to pass. So maybe I should have just played out the Mox Diamond there to have Naturalize up. But then you also risk it getting naturalized. Something that could have happened before our opponent played the mountain. And I guess we're not fetching to thin in the Sylvan Library deck. And we're immediately rewarded for doing so, so that's cool. And I think I am okay burning a Gemstone Mine counter just to keep a shuffle for the Sylvan Library. It seems more valuable. The Rack. All right, well, we have Naturalize for that. Take 1 damage off the Rack. Ooh, Cataclysm. It's a spicy one. And Quiet Speculation. I like that too. So I'm going to put back the Volcanic Spray. If they play like a Hypnotic Spectre, it doesn't seem like they're about to, though. I guess I have Swords to Plowshares. So we're okay putting back the Volcanic Spray. I'm definitely going to Naturalize the Rack here. So I will fetch the Forest. And I guess I don't need to do anything before my opponent's end step. Hypnotic Spectre. It's fine. So now I'll Naturalize the Rack. And I'm fine to Swords the Hippie here. And if we draw a land and get to play the Cataclysm, I am totally down to do that. Well, there's a land. Yep, we are going to be doing that. And it's just which land. Like, I probably don't want to get the port destroyed. And the yeah, I think I'm going to be okay discarding the having the planes be destroyed is what I'm trying to say. So I think I'll put... I can probably afford to pay 4 life here. And then, so this Cataclysm is just crazy value. So we get to keep 3 permanents and they have 1. All right, a Bolt to the Dome. Maybe I should have worried about that. That is what Machinehead does, is play lightning bolts. So my opponent trying to bolt me out of this game. Grim Lavamancer, okay. So we can speculate. For the Swords to Plowshares, that's a good one. So I could Swords this now and play the Quiet Speculation. I think that's the responsible thing to do. And I'll grab the Molten Volley, the Roar of the Wurm, not Deep Analysis. I think it's probably just a Call of the Herd token over a Ray of Revelation. We're kind of in an awkward mana spot. It's going to be a few turns before we make any elephants or worms. They hit another land. All right. Armageddon. That's a potentially good one. I probably do just want to Wasteland the Springs right now. And try to avoid lightning bolts here. All right, they're on double black, so that's working out okay. Hide the Armageddon. And I guess I'll hide the Wasteland. A Withered Wretch. All right. So that's going to mean that I need to put a fatty into play. Or an Oath of Druids. It would be really nice to have the blocker. So I think the plan does have to be to get out the Roar of the Wurm. And then if they don't answer this, we get to Armageddon next turn. We have a 6/6. All right, so the 8 Call of the Herd. And the 8 Volcanic Spray. So if I get in them now, it's kind of not the best, as I lose 3 permanents. But we attack for like 6 a turn, and it takes me 5, well, 4 attacks to win. That's cutting it really close. And I just did draw a bunch more lands. So maybe the plan here is just to play Armageddon and accept that this isn't a very good trade. And then do I want to attack here? It seems like a good way to lose to Lightning Bolt. Well, they did not immediately top deck a land, so that's good news. Ray of Revelation. Does not change too much here. So them getting my Call of the Herd is pretty brutal, but they took the Volcanic Spray anyway, which was the other card we got with Quiet Speculation. I guess I need to think about getting more cards in hand in case they go land the rack. So I guess the Treva's Ruins is good for that. I guess I'll take back the Gemstone Mine. All right, another Sylvan. Rishadan Port, potentially a good one. But I am just trying to make sure we get above the rack. Well, I'd say we would have gotten there had we started attacking with the Wurm token. But you know what would have happened if we had started attacking with the Wurm token? They would have, like, ripped a land. Like, the rack really would have done it to us, too, in addition to Lightning Bolt, because we would have not had cards in hand. The opponent's really gotten mana screwed here. Tainted Peak, that's a funny one. Curse Scroll. So I'm going to be comfortable porting the Tainted Peak for now. Okay, there's our shuffle. We'll take advantage of that. Activate port. All right, looks like they still don't have much going on. We are going to a precarious 6 life. That is double bolt range. Okay. Now we're going to be able to close this one out. With an elephant token. Tap down the peak. I guess I played the Gemstone Mine for no reason there. But we're not going to take a damage off the rack, it seems. They're also not going to take out my Call of the Herd token, you know, in the graveyard. We need to Wasteland the peak. Flashback the Call of the Herd. Then we will get back the Gemstone Mine. And we'll crash in for 9. And I didn't port them on the clutch turn there. That's pretty brutal. Can they kill me with double black? Another Withered Wretch. So they do have to chump block here. So they should have been dead. Okay, they conceded. There's a quiet speculation. All right, another one of these Withered Wretch opponents. So, well, our opponent was main decking Withered Wretch, so maybe they have Ravenous Rats. They definitely have Grim Lavamancer, but not a ton of 1-drops to pick off. And it looks like they are not like Phyrexian Arena gamers. So I'm just going to assume that's going to hold true. Oh man, I probably should have brought in Cursed Totem against the last Withered Wretch gamer. Enlightened Tutor to fetch the Oath of Druids with. Like, is it worth trying to bring in the second Volcanic Spray? These are the questions in the life, folks. I mean, yeah, so the Zuran Orb, that looks pretty playable. Cataclysm, better than Get In here. They're not really trying to go wide, but they're not going to answer our enchantments. So I think we'll often be in a position to capitalize. We're on the draw, but maybe I could just cut a Mox Diamond. This is like a lightning bolt matchup, so I guess maybe Sylvan Library isn't all that great. Do I want Aura of Silence? The thing I want a quiet speculation for is going to be green beaters. I'm just going to try this. I guess I'm going to keep here. The turn 1 Oath of Druids, that certainly answers the turn 1 Hypnotic Spectre. All right. Curse Scroll. That's certainly one they're allowed to play. Quiet Speculation. Yeah, I think I do want to play Oath of Druids here. And then we can, that'll like, at least they can't play Hypnotic Spectre or something. They're really like not gonna have any answers to this. Then we can, maybe we'll be quiet speculating for like deep analysis to try to draw our way out of this eventually. But the Oath of Druids should make sure I don't get killed here. I don't really want it to get discarded anyway. They can play Withered Wretch, but I'd have to imagine that we'll be able to keep pace with that. The Chain of Smog. Do I want to flash this back and have them empty their hand? Yeah, I kind of don't mind it. If they want to flash it back, then we empty their hand. I guess they have the Cursed Scroll then. It's a pretty slow clock, though. And their last card was a Sulphurous Springs. Okay. So they need to like draw land, and then they can start curse scrolling us, which I suppose is pretty good. But we're only a couple lands away from being able to flash back this Call of the Herd. So there's the land. So we are going to be taking 3 a turn. Okay, Sylvan Library, that's pretty decent. Dystopia. That's a pretty good one. So I guess I am sacrificing the Oath of Druids here. Wasteland. Not bad. So I could go land, flashback the Call of the Herd, but then they just get to keep their Dystopia around. So I think it's actually better just to Wasteland my opponent here and keep them off using the Curse Scroll. I don't hate the Treetop Village. All right, I think it's okay to pay 4 life at this spot of the game. Wasteland my opponent off the 3rd mana. The Tainted Peak is directly better than the Springs. They're going to pay a life here. Dystopia is Savage. A nice 2-for-1 for the cost of 1 life. So there goes the library. Here's the Treetop Village. Do I want to get the Mox Diamond into play right now? I guess not, because of the rack. Are they going to pay to keep this thing around is the question. They are. So we're going to put their life total under some duress thanks to the Treetop Village. There's the rack. So we just take 1 damage there. And then don't play anything and swing in for 3. So Treetop Village kind of doing the Lord's work here. Terravore. Well, click through my turn. That's horrendous. At least we don't take damage from the rack here. I guess I didn't want to play Terravore anyway because of the Dystopia. But I did want to attack with Treetop Village. Okay, so I think I think the play here is to cast Call of the Herd and keep my hand full. And then maybe they burn a removal spell on this elephant token. And we get to save the Terravore for greener pastures. So we're going to get to find out what the card in their hand is. It's a mountain. Cool. They activate the scroll again. And it's the rack. All right, well, at least that's not lightning bolt, so it could be worse. But we need to not take any damage from the rack. So we'll attack with this elephant. And then we can get the Terravore down. And it's a pretty serious clock. So it'll be hard for them to destroy or do a lot of damage to us and activate Curse Scroll. But Chain of Smog would be pretty bonkers. So they are activating Curse Scroll. So at least we're not getting Chain of Smog here, whatever happens. Oh, it is Chain of Smog, though. Well, why didn't they just play it? We would take 4 damage off the rack. Maybe they're worried about me discarding a bunch of lands to the Terravore. So I'm just going to keep cards in hand so I don't lose to... It's not like I can kill them, right? Wait, no, we can kill them. This will be 7, 8, and then 6. Yep, because we have the Volcanic Spray. This does deal damage to players, right? Yeah. So this is pretty cool. All right, on the play against hippies here. This will be the final round. I wonder if they are in fact playing hippies. So this is a 5-lander with Volcanic Spray. I mean, that's good against creature decks. And then if it's like a control deck, we've got Call of the Herd into Call of the Herd. I guess this hand is underwhelming and you're supposed to mulligan it. Basically the same hand, but we have Swords to Plowshares and Port now. So I think I'm going to keep. I think the Treva's Ruins looks underwhelming here. No, the Volcanic Spray looks underwhelming. We don't even have a red mana to cast it with. So we'll play a Treetop and pass the turn. All right, a Forest pass. The opponent not living up to their name there. So do I want to Mox Diamond out a Call of the Herd here? What if they're on Oath of Druids? Am I supposed to live in fear of that kind of thing? Who else goes basic Forest pass? I don't know. I think I'm just going to walk into the Oath of Druids. If they're not on Oath of Druids, we are at least dumping out a bunch of power on the board. I mean, is it okay just to port and pass and see what's going on? City of Brass, that's usually not Oath of Druids. So this Wall of Roots does slow my attack. I have multiple swords, and this lets me start clocking them with the Elephant token, and they're going to take extra damage thanks to Rishadan Port on their City of Brass. They float a mana. Do they have something exciting to do? No. I could have attacked the Treetop as well there, but I'm sure in this spot, I definitely like porting them. We have a threat in play. It seems more worthwhile to deny them a mana than to get in for 3 more damage. Is it another Wall of Roots? Sylvan Library. So now I want to put their life total under as much duress as possible. A land's a great draw. So now we get to attack with a Treetop Village and port them. So, I mean, I guess it's some kind of survival of the fittest. I don't think you usually see City of Brass in the survival decks. So I don't know what's going on there. But, man, I love playing against enchantment decks with Ray of Revelation and Quiet Speculation. Tapping City of Brass for blue. Mana War. Alright, well, that's going to answer my elephant token. Armageddon. I don't think I can Armageddon here. I think I need to attack with Treetop Village and do the port. Yeah, they're just so close to being dead. So maybe my opponent's playing Aluren. I'm sure that's what's going on. Like with the survival of the fittest. Yeah, and so now when I port them, I mean, I guess they could go, they could play land Aluren here and try to go for broke, but they usually do need to flashback Cavern Harpy a couple times, or, you know, bounce it by paying a life. Okay, so Windswept Heath is going to preclude the possibility of tapping the City of Brass if they choose to crack it. All right, the opponent concedes. Okay. So against Aluren, is like Oath of Druids a good strategy, or is Meddling Mage a better strategy? I think I have to keep an Oath of Druids. I mean, if I just play Meddling Mage, it seems like it's easy for them to go over the top of me. But yeah, Cursed Totem seems excellent. Ray of Revelation seems excellent. I mean, Cataclysm, they're kind of a go-wide deck. The Volcanic Spray is creatures without flying, so that's not going to hit the Birds of Paradise. Now, is like Aura of Silence something I want to be doing? Maybe. What to cut if so? They're pretty dependent on their creatures here. So I kind of want to bring in the Enlightened Tutor just to tutor up Oath of Druids. But they probably play Disenchants too. I mean, I could see trimming a Terravore. So I'm going to not do the Aura of Silence and maybe 3 Terravores. Well, these Wastelands are going to be good against their questionable mana base. And then we have some Swords to Plowshares to hit any mana birds or walls of roots. So that's all pretty good here, I think. Yep, and there is a mana bird. So I think I'm going to play Treetop Village, play Mox Diamond. And what do I want to discard here? I think just the Undiscovered Paradise is fine. A Wall of Roots. Yeah, so I think I'm sorting that too. So play Treetop Village. Sort the Wall of Roots. Raven Familiar. So it's definitely Aluren. Well, we're definitely wastelanding the coast here. I should have attacked first. This is like basic Magic the Gathering. Now they're going to know to block. Of course, if I had animated the right Treetop Village, that would have helped. Sylvan Library. A decent one. Do you get to waste the Reflecting Pool? Alright, let's see if I can do this properly this time. It's a little tricky, so I guess I'm going to activate the back one. Man, man, it's really hard to make sure you're activating the correct one. Okay, I did it somehow. Oof. The opponent goes the distance and pays 8 here. Well, Sabo's Web, that is a pretty good one. . I get to deploy my own Sylvan Library. The opponent has their Sylvan. They're going to 3 here. So are they going to play Aluren and win the game? Survival of the fittest. That should, they'll just need to find an Aluren to win from here. Getting the squee, that makes sense. Cataclysm, I would love to cast that one. More lands. I don't think I need either of these, so I'm just going to put them both back. Play the Windswept Heath. See, if we had that earlier Treetop Village attack, they would have had to play this all slightly different. Because they would be at 0 instead of 3. A Uktabi Orangutan. Well, at least they're not probably killing me with Aluren if they are getting Uktabi Orangutan, or maybe the plan is to play Aluren, Uktabi my Mox Diamond, and win anyway. But that is that's a fly in the ointment. Yep, there's the Orangutan. And I think I just do have to take advantage of my shuffle. I know there's lands on top. I don't think I can really afford to draw nothing. Okay. Well, if I ever get this Cataclysm out, it's going to be great. I guess it would have been pretty free to pay 4 back there at least. And have an extra card in hand. Yeah, because I could be playing Mox Diamond here and winning, so that's really sad. Well, I wouldn't be winning, but they would be limited in resources. They'd have like 1 land. They'd probably keep the survival and have the squee thing going on. Spike Feeder. Well, they're not doing Aluren things, so that is exciting. So if we do draw land, we get to play the Cataclysm. All right, come on, deck. 1 time. We haven't used it all night here. Let's draw the land. 1 time. Hell yeah. Of course, I did it stupidly and didn't play my Mox Diamond in my excitement. So they're going to crack their Spike Feeder. I could be on 2 mana and keeping my Rishadan Port. Oh, that was so foolish. Oh, the port doesn't untap anyway, so that would have been a disaster. I guess I'll keep the forest. So they probably shouldn't have too hard of a time, rebuilding here. They crack survival or activate it. I mean, drawing Cursed Totem, I don't know if they can beat it with a Uktabi already in the graveyard. But we need land plus Cursed Totem. At least the Terravore is mighty big if it ever happens. Hopefully they draw Aluren and put me out of my misery here. Alright, so they got Raven Familiar off the survival. And hopefully that finds them Aluren. A Gemstone Mine. So I think I keep this in hand to discard the Mox Diamond. So they get back Squee. Are we paying the Echo on this Raven Familiar? If we are, okay, we're not. So hopefully they're playing Aluren then. I mean, the one thing is they do have a bunch of their stuff in the graveyard. They probably do play multiple Mana Wars. So I can put Terravore into play, but they can keep bouncing it. So here's the Mana War. Bouncing Raven Familiar. So there's the Cavern Harpy. So they can Raven Familiar a bunch more here, like 5 or 6 times. And they can certainly bounce my Terravore in perpetuity, except they only have 6 life. So they are a little bit numbered. How many times they can use Cavern Harpy. So they need like Spike Feeder. Okay. So that means they can gain infinite life, and that should be good enough here. Because they just gain 2, bounce it with Mana War, bounce Mana War with Cavern Harpy, go infinite with Spike Feeder. Okay. Alright, so given the number of artifacts and enchantments, Aura of Silence obviously comes in. I think I'm still out on Volcanic Spray. You know, the 3 Terravores, at least that seemed fine. That went okay. Probably Call of the Herd, not super exciting here. They just have a bunch of walls and stuff. So I think I have to have Oath of Druids. Oath of Druids would have been great that game. So do I board out? Am I supposed to bring in like another Armageddon? It doesn't seem that great. They have so many creatures. I think I'm just going to run it like this. Okay, so we're on the play here. Well, this hand has the Oath of Druids. They're not able to, you know, web me turn 1. Maybe they'll go like Lotus Petal, Sabo's Web. Alright, there's the Birds of Paradise. So we are going to get to do our thing. I guess I'll grab a Plains here since Treetop already taps for white. Taps for green, I mean. Alright, the opponent cracks a Heath. Gets Survival of the Fittest. So we are going to get a giant Terravore here. Well, hopefully it's a giant Terravore. We did not hit Ray of Revelation. Ooh, Mox Diamond though. That's not bad. Alright, how worried am I about Sabo's Web? I think I'm gonna discard Wasteland basically for Sabo's Web reasons. Yeah. Nope, the flashback is green on Ray of Revelation. 1, 2, 3. Seems fine. And I mean, they know what we're doing. So I think I'm just gonna Ray of Revelation their survival right now. I mean, there's no way to trick them into like not getting squee, I don't think. They already had the squee. So they go for Cavern Harpy. That's interesting. I'll play the Treva's Ruins, bounce the Plains. I don't know what the plan is with a Cavern Harpy, but if they play Aluren, we've got another Ray of Revelation in tow. Now there is a thing where maybe they play Aluren and then they play Raven Familiar, and I respond by raying the Aluren. But then they can just kind of continue to go off in response. But I guess we don't have to worry about that here. And they played 2 Sylvan Libraries, and that's not going to bait me into activating my my Ray of Revelation. Our own Sylvan Library. That's not bad. Well, I was going to attack with Treetop Village. for 8. Is that better than getting my own Sylvan Library out? We could also flash back the Roar of the Wurm. I don't think I love the idea of tapping out. I think where they've got double Sylvan. Well, not that the second Sylvan really matters. You end up kind of looking at the same cards unless you pay like all the life. I think you can pay 8 life and draw 3 cards off the first Sylvan, and then you would get to see 2 more cards off the other Sylvan. Alright, so the opponent did not pay any life to their Sylvan Library. So the second Sylvan Library doesn't do anything. Sabo's Web. So Treetop doesn't untap. It's fine. And a City of Brass. Okay. Cataclysm. Cannot quite cast it. But I get to attack with Terravore. And then we get to play Sylvan Library and hold up Ray of Revelation. Blocking. So they're going to Oath. I see. So we put them at 7. Here's Sylvan Library of my own. I mean, I could Ray my own Oath of Druids here and just be completely naked to them. I mean, they must know what they're oathing into. A Man of War. I mean, that's certainly okay. So ideally, we get to Oath and then play Cataclysm. They go to 3. That's pretty scary. They're using that City of Brass and that Windswept Heath. So can they like go off with Aluren at 1 life around my Ray of Revelation? Well, here's the Aluren. Oh, I guess they're only at 2 life. Spike a Feeder. Yeah, you get your Spike Feeder. Raven Familiar. I guess you get that one too. What we want to do is Ray of Revelation in response to the Cavern Harpy. Because otherwise they get to go silly with Cavern Harpy in response. And Birds of Paradise doesn't change the math. So they just have 2 cards in hand. Oh my god. I was trying to play my Terravore, but I forgot. That was really silly. Did I put anything good in the graveyard? Doesn't seem like it. Maybe I'll draw Cursed Totem here. Ugh. So I think that playing the Cataclysm is beneficial here. I guess it's not because I can't hold up the mana. So if I Cataclysm, yeah, they can just go off with Cavern Harpy. Ugh. So they at least are gonna lose their Raven from... Now they can pay for the upkeep with Birds of Paradise on the Raven Familiar. Yeah, they sure do. They could have used the City of Brass anyway. Alright, well the opponent is sacking their Spike Feeder to gain life, so they can draw cards off the Sylvan Library. So at least the Spike Feeder is not in play, so they can't easily go infinite. I sure would have been a good spot if I'd put the Terravore into play. Okay. All right. Well, man, by hook or by crook, we got the job done there. This isn't the deck. All right, here it is. Yep. Man. Well, I mean, Quiet Speculation definitely adds an exciting angle to the deck. Yeah, I'm still learning Premodern and apparently getting reacquainted with Magic Online again. I guess it all seemed pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know, I think Cataclysm is sweet. And you probably like want to save your Terravore. I guess Armageddon doesn't destroy your Terravore. I don't know, Cataclysm just seemed really good. I guess I don't know how I could possibly improve on this deck. Other than like Call of the Herd, like Roar of the Wurm seemed really good, and Call of the Herd seemed okay, but I guess there were spots where Call of the Herd was good there against those black decks. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it like that. This deck was it was pretty darn cool. This adds another exciting angle of attack to Oath of Druids. I mean, I just like Ray of Revelation just seems crazily good now that Enchantress is one of the top decks in the format, and so I love the way we're using that. And yeah, being able to get like deep analysis, a little mini Sylvan Library. You only have to pay 3 life for 2 cards here as opposed to 8 life. Super awesome. I love a lot about what's going on here. So yes, we'll wrap it up there, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll have more Premodern content coming to you in the near future.